we are going to take a look into the first topic. It's about the development in the large language model world. HuggingFace has announced that it's going to improve or has implemented the upgrade of its Open LLM Leaderboard. Don't forget to give us likes, leave your comments, share us to your friends, and also subscribe to our channels. We have YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, and Facebook. Now, the importance of having the leaderboard is that we can now have a standardized way to compare different language models that a lot of providers like Google, Meta, Mistral, even from Alibaba. So these models, providers, we need a way to actually measure their performance in a standardized way. And HuggingFace has stepped up to did that for the first version. But this month in June, they have announced that they are going to upgrade it to the second version. So let's take a look at why this is important. Now, major problems in LLM comparison is the following. Most of the LLM providers do not provide transparency or reducibility of their claims, even in their papers or their release notes, right? So they can just claim whatever number they want, but they don't have backups or even reproducible evaluation that other people can do that. Most of them do not provide that. And some even might adjust their way of evaluation setup in order to optimize the scores altogether. And this, it can be for their own public opinion or public evaluation. But this is not good for the whole community, right? We want a standardized way to know whether this model is actually doing well in real life, not just that it's really good on a rigged scoring system. Now, the other set of problem is that the new models that they are releasing, the providers are releasing to the community, is that they're so good that they do really, really well on most of the benchmarks already. And this problem is called a saturation problem. And this is a graph that is shown model performances as times go by different benchmarks or tasks, and you can see that now it's kind of like exceed human baseline already. So these benchmarks are getting too easy for new models, and therefore it's not going to be a reliable test for us moving forward. And some of these test benchmarks are actually leaked into the training of the data that the model use. So basically, this is not a good way to do it, but if you provide test samples during the training, the model can memorize that training, even though it will do well during the test time, but because it just memorizes the answer that it doesn't really distill knowledge or generalization from the training at all. This is like a student just memorized the whole textbook. They will do really, really well at the test, but once you don't have textbook, you cannot generalize anymore. You cannot apply your knowledge. And this is exactly the same thing that is happening in the LLM world right now. Some of the benchmarks are leaked into model training. And there are a couple of research works have shown that some of the benchmarks actually contain some errors in it. As an example, the MMLU benchmarks have some errors, some noise in their test, and even the GSM 8K has some kind of like output format error. So these all the reasons combined motivated HuggingFace to upgrade its Open LLM Leaderboard and its definitions. They will introduce new evaluation methods or the benchmarks. So let's go through all of these one by one. The first one is the popular benchmarks, the MMLU. Now it has a pro version. Pretty much it's the overall knowledge, and the researchers or the others of this benchmark test set will actually remove the noise we define the questions to be harder, and instead of having only 4 choices for the model to pick, they include 10 multiple choices in there. So this is getting harder for the model to do. The second benchmark is GPQA, or the Google Proof Q&A benchmark. Pretty much, this is a set of question answers that are actually crafted by PhD level experts in their particular field, and it's supposed to be near impossible for other person, like normal people like me or lay person, to actually answer the questions by Google, by doing internet search. But it will be very easy for an expert in the field to actually answer to the particular questions. Now, I believe this one, the author of this paper asked that the sample questions shouldn't be the sample of the question should not be publicly provided, so that they can safeguard this test set and prevent contamination problem. Next one is the MUSR, or the multi-step soft reasoning test, evaluation test. This is a new one. It's actually it's a complex problems that, as an example, it has some situation like a mystery, murder mysteries, and object placement questions, or team allocation optimizations. So these are like real world fun and complex problems. So in order for the model to do well, it has to have a complex reasoning capability, as well as a long context window, because it has to walk through its complicated setup, as well as walk through its solving process as well. The next dataset is the math dataset. This is pretty much the mathematic aptitude test of Heuristics. So it's actually a high school math problems. They actually picked really hard problems to be in this dataset. But the key of this one is that the question will be formatted in a systematic way by using LaTeX for equations and using asymptote for figures. That this benchmark is also testing both logical thinking as well as testing for output formatting. The next benchmark is the IF evaluation. It's pretty much testing how well the model follow the instructions, right? And for this one, the content, the essence of this answer is less important, because this is trying to evaluate whether it will follow the instruction or not. Maybe like, okay, answer in the bullet point. So the model should answer in bullet point, or give an answer in table. The model should follow the instruction and give us the table. Now, the last benchmark is the BBH, Big Bench Hard. This one is a subset of the Big Bench dataset. The authors of this benchmark handpicked high quality questions, remove the one that is noisy or untrue, and now it's going to test like arithmetic and algorithmic reasoning, language understanding, and some world knowledge. And this is going to be a hard benchmark as well. So we can actually go to HuggingFace blog to actually browse through samples for each of the benchmark. And this is what we are going to do now. So you can come to this blog. The link is provided in my blog at the bottom here. So, and you can come to this particular section where you can go through the benchmark samples questions in the benchmark. So let's actually, so I'm looking at the MMLU Pro right now. This is sample number 5. So this is the questions. How are nutrients and waste materials transported from circulatory systems to the body's tissues? Okay, it's been a long time that I study biology, but I think this is definitely by bloodstream, right? Red blood cell, I don't know, but this is it. You have given a model 10 multiple choices to go through. So pretty much the model will need to read through all of this and try to pick the right one. At the end of the day, it will learn language understanding as well as world knowledge. The answer is number 6. Here you go. Nutrients and waste materials are transported from the circulatory system to the blood tissues through the capillaries, where exchange of materials occurs due to diffusion. Okay, I learned something new today. Alright, let's pick another benchmark. The fun one is the multi-step soft reasoning, right? The multi-step soft reasoning is complex problems. Examples are something like murder mysteries, object placement questions, team allocation optimization. This is something that is actually quite complex. Okay, let's murder mysteries, object placements, team allocation. So let's go with murder mystery index number 0. You have narrative, a really long narrative here, and so this is narrative, and then the model will be asked questions. Who is the most likely murderer? And these are the choices here. Then the answer needs to be Rex, right? Actually, if you don't have anything else to do, maybe you try if you can solve this particular problem yourself. But again, you can see that now the model actually going to learn from all these contexts and try to come up with the answer. It's going to be difficult. Alright, another one is the object placements. So let's go to one of the examples here. Again, you have the narrative and quite long until the end. The question is, which location is the most likely placed? Eli would look to find the catalog notebook given the story. And you have the model will see choices and need to pick the right one. So yes, this is the MUSR, the multi-step reasoning, multi-step soft reasoning. Next one, I think let's go into the instruction following evaluation benchmark. Here we go. This is the first index here. So the prompt is, what do you call an excluded scientist who is asked to stay home? Please finish your answer with postscript starting with PPS. See, the model must answer by starting with PPS. Instruction ID, what it is? Right. Here we go. This is instruction following. Let's try to see number 7 on the list. What's the difference between this and that? Use mathematical notation in your answer. This is instruction, right? This is a task, but this is how we want the model to do the task. Use mathematical instruction. Be chatty. You should be exactly 2 paragraphs only. Separate. So this is like instruction following, right? Yeah. Now let's go to the math level 5. Here we have, okay, so here we go. This is an example of the math. This is just a narrative math kind of problem right here, and the model needs to come up with a solution, and the solution we have LaTeX syntax in it. Now I think I was at 11, number 7 before, and you can see that this is heavily LaTeX. So the model will learn how LaTeX syntax is in the questions, and also it needs to be able to produce the output using LaTeX as well. Last one, BBH. The BBH is difficult, supposed to be difficult. So there are many subsets in here. In fact, the BBH contains 23 subset questions from the Big Bench dataset. So let's take a look at maybe object counting. In this one, pretty much the input is this series of sentences, and the model needs to answer how many objects are there. So this is some kind of like language understanding task inside this BB Edge. What we do not have here is the Google Proof Q&A, because as I mentioned, the others of the benchmark wants to protect the questions answers from the public to know, so that no contamination will happen for this particular benchmark. All right, that's about the benchmark. So HuggingFace will actually implement these new 6 benchmarks in their second version of the Open LLM evaluation or leaderboard. But they go beyond that. So they are doing something for ranking this model as well. So essentially what this is going to be is, before that, HuggingFace will evaluate the performance of a model for all these 6 benchmarks. And then in order to use one metric to rank between the models, they have to do something manipulation. And usually they have done averaging before. And they have found that it's suboptimal with many reasons. And one of the reasons is that they need to do normalization before they add this thing together. And you can actually read in detail over here. But essentially, if you don't normalize it, you have some of the benchmarks that have more value than it should be. So by using normalized, they can actually combine these into single metric to compare this model better. The implication of this development is that major providers will probably follow into using this benchmark, the new benchmarks, to evaluate their model and compare to other people as well. That because it's fair. I think it's better this way. And because HuggingFace is pushing it, I think they have like credibility to do so. Another leaderboard is the LMSyS Chatbot arena. We'll probably have to follow as well. Actually, we are going to take a look into that. The LMSyS arena also uses some of the benchmarks, like the MMLU benchmarks. But now, if HuggingFace is pushing for the newer version, they probably are going to adopt that as well. And if you are actually providing LLMs to the communities, maybe you are fine-tuning a model and you want to test whether the model is doing well on the benchmarks, I think you should use these new benchmark forward. Now, before we change topic, let's go to check the LMSyS. Actually, sorry, let's go to the Open LLM Leaderboard itself. So this is the Open LLM Leaderboard hosted on the HuggingFace space itself. So here you see that the MMLU Pro, GPQA, IFEval, BB Edge, and MUSR MAT level 5 benchmarks are actually in place. So all of the benchmarks that we just covered are actually implemented, and therefore this reflects a new normalized way, hopefully the better way to compare the models. What do we have here on top is the, I don't know how to actually pronounce it. If I'm wrong, please correct me. The Quen modeled from Alibaba actually came at the very top on the average, sum of all of these. So then we have MetaLlama 3, 70 billion parameter. All the top models are actually quite the medium-sized ones, like 70 billions. You have 35 billions here from Sapphire, the HuggingFace itself. Mixtral is 22 billions, but with a mixture of expert there. Microsoft Phi 3 medium size. I don't know how many parameters there are, but let's take a look if I can find the answer right away. It's a 14 billion parameter. Not bad, actually, compared to the others who are above, kind of like above 20 billion parameter. Here we go. 70 billions is around here. Haven't seen this one though. Maybe interesting to check out. Anyway, so this leaderboard, by the way, this is for open source LLM only. You are not going to find GPT-4o in here, but generally, from papers I've seen, open source LLM are usually behind on the performance frontier compared to major closed source providers models like GPT-4o or Gemini 1.5 Pro. And that's why we are going to take a look at the LMSyS Chatbot Arena leaderboard next. So you can come to here and you can find yourself a latest or most update arena battle between the chatbot in there. I actually have made a video a few months ago about Chatbot Arena, so feel free to actually go there for detail. But look at this, the full leaderboard will still have the all benchmarks like the MT bench and the MMLU over here. But the good thing about the Chatbot Arena is that they pit two models together and they ask humans to evaluate which one is better before reviewing which model it is to the user. So that way is a blind study, right? And this is the direct empirical measurement of how human will like these bots. So at the bottom you can see here GPT-4o reign above all of them. Now it's hard to see the TSL. I think, like, if I may, there is only one king here, GPT-4o, and you have the second tier models like Claude 3.5 Sonnet. Lots of people love that, and Gemini over here. So yeah, so you have your pick, who you want to be. Again, I want to stress out here, if you want to compare two models together, come to the bottom and you can see a match, right? So this is like a GPT 1.5 Pro having a duel with, let's say, Gemini 1.5 Flash itself. It's from the same provider. The Pro is more competent, but the Flash less competent, but quicker, more efficient. And you can see the fraction of wins there. So like 55% of the time, human prefer Gemini 1.5 Pro compared to the Gemini 1.5 Flash. That's it for this particular topic. So basically now you have a better evaluation benchmarks for if you compare the models.